Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here on our weekly live Studio Suite webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about how to schedule your resources effectively with a Studio Suite. So just real quick, for those of you who are new to Studio Suite is a market-leading resource management software, and some of the companies that use it are TV, film, music production, post-production companies, colleges, universities. They use Studio Suite to keep everything tidy and in one single platform. These are some of the ways that you can access Studio Suite. So you can access it via the mobile application, a web browser, or via the desktop. Some of the main modules that Studio offers cover some of these areas. So contact management, scheduling, project management, invoicing, equipment, and reporting. And these are some of the APIs that are already built into Studio Suite. Really popular ones are QuickBooks, Slack, Google Drive. We also have a Google Outlook and iCal sync. So that's really cool. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about scheduling our resources in Studio Suite. So if you have any questions, you can type them down on our chat box and I'll try to get to them towards the end of this quick presentation. So with that said, let me go ahead and just share my screen and then we'll dive in. Perfect. So this is the home screen. When you open up, this is what you see when you open up Studio Suite. Over here on the left side, we can see the projects that are occurring today. These events are line items that belong to these projects. So here on the left side, we have tasks that have been assigned to us. On the right side, we have some follow-ups that we need to do today. And since we're talking about scheduling, maybe we can start over here. So right here from the home screen, if I wanted to add myself to a project, I can just go ahead and click on this Add Me button. I can either do it to a project or to one of these line items from the projects, which we call events. So let's take a look. For example, if I'm working on this Ozark episode 1, and I click on Add Me, first of all, Studio Suite is going to check just to make sure that there are no conflicts. In this case, it's telling me that I'm already booked on the 20th at 9 a.m. So there's a conflict there. But let's go ahead and click OK just to give you the example. Here it is. So it's Julio, the studio manager. My status is confirmed. I can change this from here if I want to. So maybe if it's just on standby or waiting or I'm on vacation, I can change that as well. I can change the action and the operator status from here. I can also add notes. And it's that simple. So once I've decided to add myself to that project and decided on what times and dates and everything, I can just click on save and that's it. So that's one way you can add yourself to projects from right here from the screen, from the home screen. And I guess the next logical one to take a look at would be contacts. I like showing contacts. So this is a list view. If we click on any of these resources, we're going to go to the detailed view. And here I want to point out this bottom side over here on the right side. So we have resources and resource category. So if you want your resources to show up in the calendar so that you can schedule them and book them, you must make sure that this resource button is turned on. So that's going to allow for Eddie to show up in the calendar so that we can book him for project sessions or anything like that. We also have this right here, which are resource categories. So if I click on it, we can see that we have rooms, locations, equipment, people, and a few other categories. So these categories, let me show you where you would be able to use them. We go to projects. Let's open up this Ozark episode 1 example. So we're talking about scheduling, and if I want to go ahead and schedule somebody, for example, we were looking at Eddie. So here it is, Eddie. I can go ahead and add him to a project. So the reason why I wanted to go here is because I wanted to show you where those categories appear. So here they are. We have rooms, locations, equipment, people, pre-production, and a few other categories. So those are easy, so you can filter information. And also there's subcategories. But where do these categories come from? So we see them over here. I'm gonna hit cancel for now, and we're gonna go back home. So we're gonna go to contacts. Yeah. So we were looking at this resource, Eddie Smith. We were talking about the resource categories, and we see that they show up here. And then we can also filter through these resource categories when we're assigning people in projects. And if you want to build your own categories, I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. We'll go to home. Now we're going to look for setup, value lists. And here is where those categories come from. So here we have them: rooms, locations, equipment, people, pre-production. So let's say that you want to break down your equipment. Maybe you have cameras, microphones, stands, processors, and any category that you want to build, right? So if I wanted to build a subcategory for equipment, this is what I would do. Let's say this is cameras. I'll do 2.2, okay. And now we're going to see how we have another section over here, another category. So if I have some microphones, maybe I can do even another one. So you can do this sort of organization or categorization with your rooms, equipment, people. I also like building teams. So under my people category, I have my pre-production teams, production crew, post-production crews, my producers, engineers, etc. We can also have media groups, library, services. So it's really up to you and your business. This is where you would get some of those categories, and I think it's kind of cool and important to get that structure sense. So to go over that really quick, we were looking at contacts, and we were looking at where do we establish these resource categories, which we can then use to easily filter for resources and schedule them. All right, so now that we went through that, we do have an employee scheduling module in Studio Suite, so I'm going to show you that real quick. So this is it. These are all the employee schedules that we have. It's somewhat of a long list. Your list would probably be longer, but you have the typical information, right? Start and end dates, start and end times, if there's any breaks, and total of hours that somebody has been assigned. So if you want to look for a particular resource, we can even search for somebody. So let's say that we're looking for Julio, the studio manager. Here we go. This is what I've been scheduled. And I'm going to look at actuals. So we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and we got all the other relevant information. If I wanted to send this out to somebody, I can just go to reports and print out a PDF from here. So I could go ahead and print this out and send it to the studio manager so he sees his schedule with the total of hours and all the other details. So that's employee schedules. So we can create a new employee schedules from here. So for that, we would just click on new, choose who do we want to schedule, and then just select the relevant information. And you can click on these days to tell Studio Suite which days do we want this person, Sandy, to work. There we go. So it's a regular schedule. And we can do the same thing now. So if we could look for that person, Sandy K, and then we would get the information. We can create a printout from that. And here it is, Sandy K, regular, and we have all her days. We can see we have 3 different views available here. So we have the scheduled view, the actual view, or both. So I typically look at the scheduled view. It's just a little bit cleaner. There we go. We also have this detailed view for any of those schedules. So if you want to add some notes to that, you can also do that. If you want to attach some tasks, that's also possible. So any tasks that have been assigned to Sandy would show up over here. Okay, so that's employee schedules. And now I guess this is how most likely you would be creating your schedules, or at least this is how I do it. So I mostly create them from projects. Let's just build a new one to give the example. So we're gonna go ahead and click on new. And we have the opportunity to create a new project either from template, budget, or an actual perspective. So I'm gonna create it as an actual. So this is our new example project. We're going to choose to do this internally for Millennial Productions. Okay, so here we go. We're on a fresh, brand new project, and now we want to schedule some resources. So for that, it's really easy. We can go to this Add Items button. From here, we can search for resources in a variety of ways. We can either filter for the main category, a subcategory, or we can search for the name of the item. So we started by looking at where do we get these different categories from and how do we create them. So if we click on rooms, then it's just going to show us our rooms. If we go to equipment, now we have all of our equipment, and you get the idea. So if I'm looking for, let's see, an ARRI camera, I can just also dial it in, type it in, and it'll filter through those options. So there we go. So for this example, let's go ahead and schedule a room. Let's say that we're going to be working in Studio B. Let's get some people in here. So let's get producer, project manager, and what else? Let's get some equipment in here too. So let's say that we are going to need for this project, maybe a few cameras and a hard drive. There we go. So if you see these exclamation points, exclamation symbols right here, Studio Suite is letting you know that there's a conflict. So if you hover over it, you're going to see where the conflict lies. Okay, so now I clicked on Add to Project, and I have scheduled all of these resources. We have a studio, a couple of people, and a few pieces of equipment. From here, we can change the dates, of course, really easy. So we can override this default information. We can decide on a set of action. So if this is going to be for an interview project or mixing, and of course you can create your own categories, your own sets of actions. So I like using this sets of actions because eventually when I create reports, I can see everything that's related to mixing, to editing, to coloring, or recording audio. So a set of actions is it's pretty useful in that way. We have different rates. We can override those rates over here. So we want to charge a little bit more. That's fine. We can do that, and Studio Suite will do the math for us and calculate our P&L. So we scheduled all of these resources. Now, once we schedule them, how do they get notified? Well, there's a few ways. You can notify them manually from the projects window. So if we look over here on the top right side, we can see a notify icon. If we click on it, here we go. We can choose which company to use and to who to send it to. We can either send it as a text message or we can also send it as an email. We can create different reminders. So if I wanted to do maybe 7 days before the event, and then another good 3 days before the event, and maybe 1 hour before the event. So this would send this to this email, this drip sequence of reminders with the description of the project, and we can add more notes over here if we want. That's one way to get people notified. Another way is if, let's look for this person. So for Mary Wilson, we can set up Studio Suite. So Studio Suite sends out automatic notifications. So for that, let me show you how I would determine that. We're looking for Mary Wilson. Okay, so if we look over here, we have send email notifications. If you have this checked, anytime that Mary Wilson is booked to a project, then she would get an automatic email notification. So there we go. We saw two different ways. We can send notifications manually, or we can also send automatic notifications once somebody's booked to a project. Okay, so let's go back to our example project over here that we had. So there we go. We scheduled a few people. They got notified. Everything's good. Another thing that you could do is you can change the default status. So all of these resources, I have them as to come in as confirmed as my default status, but you can change that, of course. And you can also change it manually. So maybe Mary hasn't confirmed and she's just pending. So you can change that status from here as well. All right, cool. So another thing that you will most likely end up doing is scheduling your resources and your people from the calendar. And that's one of my favorite ways to schedule as well. So we have this new example project. Everything that you create in the projects module gets reflected in the calendar module as well. So let's jump into the calendar. All right, so here we are in the calendar. We're in the timeline weekly view. Here's our new project, new example project, and we have the different line items in that project. So they show up over here. And if you hover over any of it, you'll get a little bit more information. So from here in the calendar, we can choose which resources to see. And this is, again, a similar concept to what I was talking earlier about creating groups. So these are calendar presets. So if I just want to look at my equipment, I can choose to do that. And the items in gray are my resources. The stuff in green right here are projects, and the ones in tan, these are the employee schedules and employee tasks. So you might be wondering, let me give you a quick example over here. What's the difference between these resources over here, these people, so Michelle, Elena, Eric, and all of these team members over here, how are these different than the ones on the bottom that are in tan? So the ones up here are just resources that you can book on projects, and the ones on the bottom are employees. And the way that you can know how they're different is if we go to contacts, let's go ahead and open Eddie Smith. So here we have him tagged as an employee. So this is how Studio Suite knows that he's an employee, and this is why Eddie is going to show up on that tan, with that tan group color. So Eddie Smith, he's an employee. If we go back to our calendar, we have Eddie Smith over here because he's tagged as an employee. Okay, So I want to show you how to create some of these presets. So this is something pretty cool and it's not that difficult at all. So let's go ahead and create a new one. Let's see what we got here so far. So we got audio, basic, equipment, people, and a few other ones. I'm just going to create a new one that says new example or new team example. So to create a new group, we're going to go over here to settings. Click on settings, and this is the group that we have selected right now. So we have current preset, our post-production preset. If you notice, there are some things, some items that are selected and they show up in blue. So these are the items that are visible in that group. If I wanted to remove any item from our post-production group, I can just click on this and it would remove them from that group. And the same way, if I wanted to add something to that group, I can add it. So let's say that on post-production, I want to add graphics design prep. There we go. Now it's highlighted in blue. And if I click on update, now it's going to update this group. So let's take a look. So we have post-production, and now we have this new line item over here, graphics design prep. So let's go ahead and create a new one. We'll go to settings, and now we're going to say new. So we're going to title it, this is our new team. We're going to say, let's see, audio. Let's click on all and do OK. Oh, my apologies. I'm trying to create the same team when I already have it over here. Okay, now that we have that, let's go ahead and select new team from here. Okay, so here it is. This is the new preset that we just created, new team. And now we can select which items do we want to have on this new group that we created. So I'm going to click on deselect all so that I can choose a few new ones. So let's say that for this one, I want Chrissy, I want Freddie, and let's add Mary as well. There we go. And if there's things that you want to add and that you don't see over here, you can also bring them in from this left side. So we have the groups again. So if we just want to look for rooms, if I click on Studio A and hit this little arrow over here, it's going to bring Studio A over to this right side. So here it is on the bottom. And then I can select it and add it to this new preset that I created. Okay, so there we go. Now that we've created that one, we should be able to see it over here in our calendar. So here it is, new team, and here are the items that we just added. Okay, so we learned how to create these new presets, which are pretty handy. So you can only see the information that you want displayed over here on the left side. Now from here, we can also book and schedule people or resources. So all of these are resources that I can schedule. So if I wanted to create a new project or schedule them, I can do that from here. I can also drag this out if I want. I can slide it to. Okay, here we go. So we have a few people that we want to book for a new project. And let's pick out a room as well. Let's say that we're going to use maybe a Foley room. Okay, pretty good. Now let's go ahead and say book project. We can choose either to create a new project or to add to an existing project. So I'm going to say create new project. Book as continuous is going to tell Studio Suite if you want these multi-day events to show up as a single line item or to show up as separate line items. I personally like for it to show as a single line item. So I'm gonna do book as continuous. All right, now Studio Suite is gonna take us over here to our projects module. Let's say this is our new project demo. And there we go. These are the items that we selected from the calendar, and now they are here in a new project. So if we go back to the calendar, here they are. So we have Studio B, and we booked these 4 people over here: Kim, Jim, George, and Ella. Over here, you can also have equipment. So if you have cameras or pianos, keyboards, mic preamps, anything that you want, hard drives, you can also have them on this list right here. All right, so this is booking resources. We can also book and create employee schedules. So if we deselect resources and projects, now we are only seeing our employee schedules and tasks. So let's say that we have Tina Kendall over here and we want to create an employee schedule for her. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's say that we want her to work Tuesday through Saturday, 30-minute break. Okay, so here's Tina, and now she's been scheduled from Tuesday to Saturday. So we can see this information now also in the scheduling module. So employee schedules. Let's look for Tina. And these are the schedules that we just created from Tuesday through Saturday. If we wanted to email this out, we can just do reports, employee schedules, and Studio Suite is going to create a printout that we can send as a PDF. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go, 5 days, total of 40 hours. Yeah, and well, something that I always like to do is once I start my day or my week, I always like to look at my calendar and take a look at what projects do I have coming up, or who else is going to be in the office, who else is working with me. So this is a great way for you to organize yourself. Over here in the calendar, you can also take a look at this as a monthly view. You can also look at it with the traditional view, which is what most people are accustomed to. This is what you would see on Google Calendar, Outlook, or iCal. But all right, my friends, so I think this is everything I wanted to show you that relates to scheduling in Studio Suite. And let's see if we have any questions from the audience right now. All right, so let's see. We have, is there a maximum number of categories? Nope, there's not a maximum number of categories. You can create and have all the categories that you want. So I think when this question has to do with these categories that we have over here. Yeah, so you can create all the categories that you want. It's one of my favorite things, just categorizing things. So that's a great question. Thank you for that question. Next, we have, what is the difference between booking someone on a project and booking an employee schedule for them? The difference is how do you categorize people. So let me hit cancel on this one. Yes, like I was showing you in a little bit earlier, when you go to contacts, you have the opportunity to categorize people as employees or if they're not employees. So that's how you choose. That's pretty much the difference between booking somebody as a resource or as an employee. So for example, Eddie Smith, he could be an employee and a resource, both at the same time. But if I don't want to look at him as an employee, I would just deselect that and he wouldn't show up as an employee. So I wouldn't be able to create employee schedules for Eddie. So hopefully that answers the question there. Let's see, next up. What are the numbers on some items in the Add Items screen? Okay, let's take a look at that. So what are the numbers on some of the equipment items in the Add Items screen? So let's see, where are we here? We're on the Add Items screen. Numbers on equipment. Let's look for a piece of equipment. Oh, that's a really good question. So we see that we have some numbers over here on equipment. That is great. I'm really glad that somebody asked. So if we look up right here, we see that it's telling us the quantity and also how many of them are available. So in this case, we have a pool over here of 2 cameras, Sony X1000, and looks like they both are available. In this case over here, we have a C100 and looks like there's 4 of them total, but somebody's using 2 of them. So therefore we only have 2 available. So that was a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Let's see, what else do we have? Do people get notifications when they're booked? Yes, they can get notifications when they're booked if you predetermine that. So we have Kim Bloom over here. So for that, we would go to resources and services. Let's look for Kim. You would select send email notifications, and anytime that we book Kim, she's going to get an automatic email notification. So very handy, of course. Okay, let's see. Can you build packages of equipment like a camera package? Yeah, when you're scheduling people, maybe you have a project where you want to schedule one of your cameramen and director of photography and send them out to a project with some equipment. You can create equipment bundles and packages. So here in equipment, we have the opportunity to create equipment packages. So once you book or rent or use this piece of gear, you can tell Studio Suite that it comes with other pieces of equipment. And we can create collections as well, which is more for if you're creating, if you have a collection of different items that you want to keep track of the same type of items. So if you have 5 of these mic preamps, you can have them and use them as a collection. Okay, and I think we're getting to the bottom of our question. So I think this is the last one. Can you drag and drop things around in the calendar to move them? Yes, we can. So let's show that real quick. Yeah, if we want to move any of these events, we can just drag them and move them. Really easy. So yeah, it's another really cool feature of the calendar module. All right, my friends. So thank you all so much for your time. I'm just gonna give you a quick summary of some of the things that we covered. We were talking about scheduling, so we can schedule from right here from the home screen by using the Add Me buttons. We can also schedule by going to the Projects module and just doing Add Items. We can also schedule from the calendar by dragging and dropping events. So we have those a couple of different ways, and we also went over how to create presets and how to create our resource groups so that we can schedule our resources a little bit easier and more efficiently. So if there's anything that you got from this, is how you can organize your teams and information so that you can access those quickly and deploy them quickly. That'll save you time, and we all know that time is money. All right, so thank you very much again. Let me show you some of our contact information just in case you want to reach out to us. We would love to hear from you, know what your use case is, and see how we may be of assistance. By the way, next week, we're going to be talking about performing inventory checks with Studio Suite. It's on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you all again. And here are a couple of ways that you can reach out to us. You can get a free trial on our website by going to studiosuite.com. It's super easy. Just click away. You don't need a credit card to sign up for the free trial. And you can also shoot us a note, sales@studiosuite.com, or you can give us a call at any of those two numbers that you have there on the screen. Right, once again, thank you all very much. And I hope that you were able to grab some useful tips from this webinar. So until next time, thanks again, talk later.